The strings all rest on what these are called mandals, and they're levers. And basically, this is the mechanics of the instrument itself. So depending on the note, as you can see on some of the smaller range between the bridge and the pegboard, there's not as many of these. So there's 4 here, but down here there's 10 or 15. So this gives me the notes. This helps me with the notes. So with this instrument, you can play both Western and Eastern music. So a lot of instruments really fall in this family. We were talking about the santur early, the dulcimer, the auto harp, and the kanun. These are all precursors to the piano, the modern day piano that we see today. And that's, it sounds simple enough, but it's interesting to tune.
So now this can be considered both as a classical and a folk instrument?
It's predominantly a folk instrument because of the music that we do, but certainly, when we say classical, I guess the distinction would be, Western classical of, Mozart and Beethoven and so forth, versus what we call classical music for Middle Eastern music. Okay. So, going back a couple of centuries, for example, in the Ottoman Empire, a lot of classical Turkish music was composed. Interestingly enough, a lot of them were by Armenians. So you've got a lot of the music that's still being played today that were composed by Armenians. What I do, and the music that I play, we don't call them scales necessarily. They're called modes. Okay. And the modes that we use is in a system called the makam. M-A-K-A-M or M-A-Q-A-M. Okay. And that's used throughout the Middle East Arabic cultures and Armenian music as well. So the Armenian folk music and the dance music that I would play is based on that makam system. Okay. So for example, something may be called nihavent, which is just the name of the mode, and that consists of a certain scale. Within that scale could be 2 or 3 other scales. Wow. So it's quite complex. Okay. Yeah.
Now, you're familiar with Indian music, right? A little bit. Yep. So we were talking about the rag, and you said the mode.
Very similar.
So
similar in the sense that it's a mode, and so you're not using a traditional Western scale to play Indian folk music.
Okay. So I got it. But in the mode, you would have a certain set of notes, right?
Correct.
And then it's okay to add in other notes as well?
Well, there's a certain way to play what we call a taksim, and a taksim is another Middle Eastern term that just means solo, and so for the music again, it represents the artistry of the actual musician. So depending on their abilities on how they could play a taksim, it shows that audience the versatility of that musician. So within a solo or a taksim, one would play the scale, a certain way, meaning there is a progression within the note structure. But within that particular mode, you can deviate to go to different modes within that. It's sort of, if you want to look at it like a family tree. So you've got the main one that, depending on what note you hit, it allows you to go to a different makam.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost like changing the keys?
Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you demonstrate a little bit
Sure.
about?
So this is within a mode. I've got it set up to play within the mode nihavent. Okay. Or the Arabs call nahawan. That's the interesting part is the names are very similar. There's some slight alterations to how they're spelled and whatnot. But this gives you an idea of just really of a solo within this scale, if you will.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
That's wonderful. Now, how long have you been playing this instrument?
I've been playing this instrument now probably about 25 years, which is
Wow.
not as long when you consider musicians that say, well, I've been playing this since I was 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing music in general since I was a child, but I really didn't get into actually playing the music, the Middle Eastern music, until probably around college.
Now, what instrument were you playing before this?
I was playing in public school. I was playing trumpet.
Trumpet. Oh, that's a far cry from.
It's a far cry from it. When we were all kids, we'd watch on stage, and we'd actually see all of these live musicians playing this music, and really, you could see the enjoyment. You could see the connection between everybody on stage, and I think it was that in itself that said, I wanted to be able to do that. I had different musicians over the years, show me little things here and there. I had an Armenian musician that anytime I would see him, which was only once a year, and he would play a big dance out on the East Coast, he would literally want me sitting next to him off stage to watch what he was doing. And so here's a musician that literally took the time. He'd show up in the hotel lobby and see me. He'd say, come here, I'm going to go put all my stuff away, be ready for your lesson. And I was there just to party. I wasn't there to take any lessons. But I did that year after year. And, those 2 or 3 hours were valuable. But no formal training.
Now, you have your own recording company as well, right?
I do.
You produce a lot of Armenian music?
I do. I created a company called American Recording Productions back in 1991 for the purpose of, it really fell into it by accident. I was playing music. People come up to me and said, do you have any recordings? No, I really don't. Started to make some recordings, started to sell them, and thought, this might be an interesting. There were very few of us that were doing, Armenian Middle Eastern music. So it's really when I created the record label, and I've recorded and produced probably over 30 different albums, and I spent a lot more time on it maybe back in the early 90s. And so I was fortunate to get, global distribution. So I don't have to do too much with it. I still sell it. People can go to arpmusic.com and they can sample the music.
Would you be able to show us some of your original compositions?
Well, sure. There is a song that I did on an album a number of years ago. It's a dance song. And it's a Laz bar, L-A-Z. Bar means dance. Laz is in this instance sort of a region. So we hit the gamut. There's a 4/4 rhythm, which most people recognize. Armenian music is a lot of 10/8 rhythms, 2/4, 9/8, and you would hear 9/8 in a variety of, let's say, belly dance music. There's 5/4. I mean, it really does hit the gamut. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3.
Yep. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 3. Yep.
Beautiful.
Very popular dance in the Armenian cultures is called a tamzara, and that's a very popular rhythm.
Okay.
Another one for a lot of the line dancing that the Armenians do is something called a 10/8, regular 10/8 rhythm. I'll give you a little bit of a taste of that.
This is Sunita from the SWAC Studios, bringing the world together with music.